Gentlemen, you didn't come here for shortcuts, gimmicks, or fantasies about turning back the clock. You're here because you sense, and you know, that women react differently to a certain type of mature man, and you're ready to understand why. Listen closely. Most men over 60 have no idea they possess the single most compelling edge in male psychology, an edge younger men can only wish for. And once you learn to apply it, women don't just glance your way, they're drawn toward you. But there's a catch. Society has persuaded you that your value fades with age. That attraction belongs only to men with full hair, smooth skin, or oversized bank accounts. Recently, a gentleman told me, "I feel unseen." He isn't alone. Millions of mature men are unknowingly holding themselves back. Here's the reality. Your age isn't the problem. The problem is the untapped psychological strength you already carry. And when you express it authentically, women, including younger women, respond with curiosity, warmth, and a kind of interest that might surprise you. What's more, you can awaken this shift in less than 12 minutes a day. No extreme diets, no surgical procedures, no lavish spending required. Stay with me, because I'll share the one quality that women consistently name as the most compelling in a mature man, and why it's rarely discussed. But first, if you're ready to rebuild your confidence and attract genuine interest without playing games, let me know where you're joining from. I appreciate connecting with men from around the globe. And consider subscribing so you never miss practical insights on presence, vitality, and sustained masculine energy after 60. Let's clarify something right now, without softening the words. People repeat a tired myth that after 60 you become invisible, that women only notice you if you're behind the wheel of a luxury car, on a yacht, or mingling with the famous. But life isn't a screenplay. That idea? Discard it. It's simply untrue. I've worked with men in their 60s, 70s, even early 80s, men with weathered skin, silver hair, old scars, and watched women 20 or 30 years younger actively pursue them. Not just polite interest. Pursuit. And why? It wasn't wealth, chiseled physiques, or attempts to mimic youth. No luxury accessories, no cosmetic procedures, no midlife props. It came down to one thing: psychological presence. A deeper kind of magnetism most men never explore, simply because no one showed them it exists. Here's an honest observation many men hesitate to admit. Women aren't lacking for youthful charm or polished appearances. They're surrounded by that. The world is full of younger men striving to impress, to prove, to be admired. But women, especially those who are grounded and self-aware, desire something different. They're drawn to substance, to a man who has lived, who doesn't waver at the first sign of tension, whose quiet demeanor carries more weight than another's chatter. They grow weary of insecurity, of neediness, of men who perform rather than lead, of those who falter when life doesn't go as planned. And here's what many mature men miss. You already have what these women seek. You've simply been conditioned to conceal it. For those new here, I'm James. Over the past 5 years, I've helped men restore their vitality, sharpen their presence, and reconnect with a grounded masculine strength that younger men often lack the life experience to embody. Let me say something few voice openly. Men over 60 possess a form of attraction younger men simply cannot replicate. Not shouldn't, cannot. Younger men may have energy, biology, and muscle on their side, but they don't have what you have: life in your eyes. Earned resilience. An identity shaped by decades of storms, failures, victories, losses, heartache, rebuilding, and responsibility, everything that forges a man into someone substantial. That depth, that calm, that earned wisdom, that is your quiet advantage. If you want a moment of grounded truth amid all this, here it is. A man steps into his power when he no longer requires external approval to feel worthy. Marcus Aurelius observed that your mind shapes your reality, not the opinions of others. That's why Stoic thinkers have been respected across ages. They didn't chase, they embodied. Which leads us to the real key: the shift that transforms what you already have into genuine magnetism. It's called outcome independence. It's the mindset of a man who doesn't seek validation, doesn't plead for attention, doesn't come undone when plans change. A man who can enter a space with calm assurance and think, if she stays, excellent. If she goes, also fine. When a woman senses that energy, that relaxed, grounded, unshaken presence, something shifts within her. Her defenses lower, her curiosity rises, and she finds herself drawn to you almost instinctively. Because deeply, women don't want a man who needs them. They want a man who chooses them. They want a man who chooses them from a place of wholeness, not emptiness. And when you cultivate this mindset, women don't merely notice you, they move toward you. Let's break this down simply. There are 3 common missteps that many men over 60 repeat, often without realizing. Today, I'll highlight the habits that actually work, the ones that change the dynamic in your favor. First misstep, chasing instead of attracting. Be honest with yourself. How often have you tried to prove something to a woman? Maybe you've caught yourself standing a little taller, mentioning achievements, or even hinting at financial comfort, like casting bait into the water. But the candid truth is this: when you chase, you lose. Women detect neediness faster than you can imagine. It's primal. And when they sense that energy, they withdraw emotionally, step into a position of power, and perceive you as trying too hard. You're not 17. You don't need to audition. You've lived, survived, built, lost, and rebuilt. You already possess what younger men are straining to mimic. So what's the better approach? Stop chasing. Start standing with presence. This is where outcome independence comes in, a concept deeply rooted in Stoic thought. Stoics taught that when a man ties his happiness to another's approval, he becomes enslaved to it. Epictetus put it plainly: a man is only free when he refuses to attach his well-being to someone else's opinion. That's outcome independence, the quiet confidence of a man who doesn't need a woman to choose him, but is open to it if she wishes. It's the energy of a man who isn't performing, adjusting, or contorting himself to keep someone's attention. And when you embody that, something remarkable occurs, and it occurs quickly. Women approach not because you pursued them, but because you didn't. Your calm assurance speaks louder than any accessory, expensive meal, or flashy remark. They feel safer near a man who doesn't waver. They feel more feminine near a man who doesn't seek their validation. They feel more intrigued by a man secure in who he is. Soon, I'll share a brief daily practice that helps you enter this state naturally, no pretense, no forcing. But before that, if you've ever noticed women responding differently when you're calm, grounded, and not chasing, drop the phrase, quiet assurance, in the comments. I'm curious how many of you recognize exactly what I'm describing. Second misstep, letting a woman determine your worth. This one is subtle, almost invisible. It begins the moment a small question enters your mind: does she still find me attractive? Am I enough? What if she loses interest? That slight doubt is where you surrender your power. Once you assign a woman the role of defining your value, it doesn't matter how experienced you are, you've ceded the frame. You've stepped into a follower's role. Here's what occurs within you. Biologically, stress hormones rise. Your shoulders tighten, your voice shifts, your presence diminishes. Emotionally, your natural charm fades because you're no longer relaxed, you're performing. Practically, you begin treading carefully, censoring yourself, hesitating to speak your mind for fear of missteps. And women sense this immediately. Not later, immediately. Once she feels you bending your identity to meet her expectations, respect begins to drain, slowly at first, then altogether. The Stoics spoke to this clearly. Marcus Aurelius wrote that a man's worth is no greater than the value he places on his own mind. In other words, your value comes from your own judgment, not hers, not anyone's. Seneca noted that the man who depends on others for validation becomes their prisoner. So what's the better path? Stop linking your worth to her reactions. You don't require her validation or approval. You don't need the emotional reassurance that younger men often seek. Know your value because of who you are, the storms you've weathered, the scars you carry, the responsibilities you've held, the wisdom you've earned through experience. Women aren't drawn to men who ask, "Am I good enough?" They're drawn to men who convey, "I know who I am. Take it or leave it." When you present yourself as a man who doesn't need approval but is open to connection, something changes. Your energy steadies, your voice deepens, your presence becomes anchored, your eyes reflect certainty rather than seeking permission. And women feel that, in their chest, in their nervous system, in the way their body relaxes around you. Real confidence, the kind forged by life, doesn't look arrogant. It looks like quiet certainty. And that energy is magnetic. Third misstep, competing in a game you weren't meant to play. Let's be direct. Many men in their 60s fall into this trap unnoticed. They try to rival men half their age, coloring their hair, purchasing conspicuous accessories, squeezing into trendy clothes, pushing hard at the gym as if to erase the years, chasing the illusion of being 35 again. But you're not 35. And that's a good thing. If you were, you'd still be navigating the same insecurities, confusion, and turmoil that younger men often face. Age isn't a liability, it's an advantage. You've already been through battles. You've made mistakes. You carry lessons younger men can't yet comprehend. And here's what many never consider. Women don't truly want a perpetually boyish man. Biologically, emotionally, spiritually, they're drawn to the opposite. They desire a man who feels solid, anchored, who doesn't fracture when life challenges him. Reflect on this. Women grow weary, deeply weary, of the emotional turbulence that often accompanies less mature men. A boy panics, overreacts, seeks validation, becomes jealous over small things. A man remains calm, thinks before responding, doesn't chase chaos but weathers it, doesn't crumble but adapts. That, ironically, is what fosters safety, attraction, curiosity, and desire. When you stop pretending to be younger and instead lean into the identity you've earned, everything shifts. You conserve energy, resources, and time because you're no longer maintaining an illusion. You channel that power into your strengths, not your insecurities. Stoicism aligns naturally here. It teaches that a man's strength comes from living in harmony with his true nature, not avoiding it, hiding it, or trying to escape it. Seneca wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." Your years, your challenges, your setbacks didn't weaken you, they forged you. So what's the practical shift? Stop trying to rewind time. Start embodying the man life has shaped you into, not a younger version, not a social media version, not the person you think women want, but the real you, grounded, seasoned, steady. Because here's the truth women may not say aloud. Younger men can copy your style, but they can't replicate your presence. They can mimic your clothing, but not your life experience. They can build muscle, but they can't manufacture composed masculine energy. And women sense that difference immediately, the calm, steadfast, unshakable demeanor that comes from decades of victories and lessons. It's something younger men cannot imitate, no matter how they try. When you embrace that, that's when women lean in. Not because you chased them, but because you've become the kind of man they naturally find compelling. Now, let's get practical. How do you cultivate outcome independence in daily life? I guide clients through a simple routine I call the centered presence practice. It takes 12 minutes a day, divided into 3 steps. Step 1, 3 minutes of contentment. Find a quiet seat. Picture your life exactly as it is, no partner, no one's approval, no external validation. As you hold that image, let yourself feel okay with it. Feel complete. Feel as though nothing is missing. This trains your mind to release the old habit of needing someone else to feel whole. It dissolves neediness at the root and makes you naturally more attractive. Step 2, 4 minutes of relaxed visualization. Imagine speaking with a woman you find interesting. But here's the key, you're not trying to gain anything, no number, no kiss, no date. You're simply enjoying a calm, natural conversation. This teaches your brain that you can be present without calculating, without impressing, without worrying about the outcome. That's what builds authentic confidence. Step 3, 5 minutes of self-recognition. Reflect on what you've experienced, the successes, the obstacles, the lessons, the moments you persevered when others might have stepped back. You're not comparing or boasting. You're quietly acknowledging your own worth. This builds a confidence that remains steady, even on difficult days. Here's the interesting turn. Life often responds in unexpected ways. The moment you ease the effort to attract, you naturally become more attractive. Consider a real example. A gentleman I worked with, let's call him Frank, is 68. Instead of attempting to impress a woman at his local cafe, he simply sat relaxed, reading a book. No showing off, no nervous energy, no, please notice me. Within minutes, a woman in her 50s approached him. They've been together 2 years now. Why did it work? Because his energy communicated, I'm content as I am. I don't need you, but I'm open to sharing time together. That demeanor is powerfully appealing. Most men never discover this. But listen closely. This isn't about acting distant, pretending not to care, or playing games. Not at all. It's about freeing yourself from desperation. Women sense desperate energy long before you speak. But they're naturally drawn to a man who radiates calm, grounded confidence. And the best part? You don't have to manufacture this confidence or fake it. You already possess it. You've lived through decades of lessons, challenges, wins, losses, and growth. That's what makes you magnetic. You simply need to stop masking it with old insecurities and outdated habits. So, gentlemen, here's the genuine truth. You're not too old. You're not invisible. You're certainly not past your prime. In fact, you're in one of the strongest chapters of your life, a stage where you can attract women in a way younger men often don't grasp. All it takes is a subtle shift in perspective and about 12 minutes a day. Starting tomorrow, try it. Practice outcome independence. Then observe what happens. You'll likely notice women regarding you with greater curiosity, warmth, and interest. They can feel the difference. And remember, you don't need to reinvent yourself or pretend to be someone new. You only need to allow the authentic man within you to emerge. Before you go, I'd like to hear from you. If anything here resonated, if you now see why women respond to calm, grounded, outcome-independent men, drop a comment below with the phrase, I choose grounded presence. I read each one and appreciate seeing how many of you are stepping into that awareness. If you're serious about deepening this journey, don't stop here. Look for the follow-up material that appears on your screen. It expands on what we've discussed and walks through specific behaviors that help women lean in, engage, and value your presence. If you haven't yet, consider liking this page and subscribing for more insights that will help sharpen your mindset, confidence, and natural influence. I'll see you in the next conversation.